Welcome back to the channel. This video is going to be a how to replace a clutch in a Farmall B. The process will be similar in other small tractors like this. Alright, we've got it inside, got the engine hoist about where we want it. Now we have to figure a way to attach this to here, and the best place I found is the oil pan bolts. They're just 5/16 bolts, so I wouldn't go picking up the whole tractor with those, but it should be fine for this. And then I also want to put a strap from here around the hoist so that this end of the tractor doesn't want to tip and the whole thing rotate to the side and fall down. Then you also have to support the back end of the tractor. And to do that, I made these stands just with some C-channel and then one to go across, so we can have one jack in the middle that can lift up and lower the whole thing. So when you're trying to put the tractor back together, it's easy to get it lined up. And let's get the two halves of the tractor ready to be split. So fuel line. Of course, if you have the hood and gas tank on, you'll have to take those off. And choke cable, the throttle cable, throttle shaft, the kill wire to the magneto. Then also pull the steering shaft out there. So here's the lifting eyes I'm using onto the oil pan. I have a much longer bolt, so I have as many threads in the block as possible. And I have a bunch of washers so that the eye is not bending the oil pan there. And these lifting eyes are rated for enough. Bolts off, holding this cover on because you can't split the tractor when this cover's on. You can see the flywheel's right there, and this would have run into it. And here's the sling we're going to use. We use this for moving like catch basins and stuff, so just use it for this because it has the splitter down to 2. I'm going to use this piece of metal here to hold the chain away from the valve cover and the spark plug wires, and then this block of wood to hold it away from the manifold.
Bring the clutch down here.
Now here's what we've got as far as parts. This is a clutch kit that fits the Farmall A, B, C, Super A, Super C, 100 to 240. Here's the pilot bushing, throwout bearing, new clutch disc. Yeah, and most importantly, a new pressure plate. Now there's only 6 bolts holding the entire frame of the tractor together. So take those out.
Under here.
Alright, that's fine. Now you can pry from the bottom, just slowly work your way around, and it should come right apart. It's easier to roll the back half backwards than the front half because engine hoist. And there it is. Now there's 6 bolts holding on the pressure plate. And that comes right out with the clutch disc. Now to remove the pilot bushing, it helps to have one of these tools. It's a slide hammer, and these go in and expand to grab the bushing. So get the tool, get one that fits pretty close, and then turn the inside part. Now we can thread on the slide hammer portion. Bushing removal tool installed. If this works. And that's what happens pretty much every time we've used this tool. It just rips. These work a lot better on bearings because it's like it's a hardened race that you're pulling on, whereas these bushings, it's just a soft brass and it just pulls right out. All right, here's plan B. We're gonna try the grease method where you put a bunch of grease in there and then hit a bolt or something in. And it should work like hydraulics and push the bushing out. And I have a bolt in the middle and the socket fits pretty tight. Oh, it's actually moving. There it is. Surprised that actually worked. Now before we install the new bushing, let's just check it's the right size, and it is. Here's what we have going on for getting the throwout bearing off. I'm trying to use this puller. While my dad makes extensions for that puller, I'm going to take this input shaft. I got it from a junkyard. I'm going to cut it about here so that I can use it as a clutch alignment tool. You'll see why you need this in a second.
The right size. It's got to be less than 3/4. Top is so hard to come.
So we couldn't get the old throwout bearing off of this collar. So we took the whole assembly out and we were able to get it off. So here's the pieces. This piece goes into the housing, into the cast, and then the collar rides on it. And then this pin goes through the cast up there, which goes through this yoke like that. And this collar goes on this yoke like that. And then that end of the yoke goes to this rod, which is attached to the clutch lever. So, unfortunately, this is pretty worn down from the old throwout bearing not spinning. It was spinning in the wrong spot, but it's still gonna hold this one tight. So we'll put some retaining compound on there and it should be fine. Bearing in place. And never mind, that's not gonna work. It's too worn out. It's rubbing up against there. I cleaned up this tube that the release bearing rides on, so let's install that. Alright, I got the pilot bushing here. It's been in the freezer overnight. Hopefully it'll go on. Here's our new throwout bearing carrier. It's part number IHS 1155. Got it from Steiner. So let's compare new to old. Yeah, look at how worn down that ridge is. Throwout bearing should go like that. Now let's tighten down this grease fitting. Let's make sure this fits. And it does. And I also got that tube installed. Just like that. So that should be close enough for now. I assume the FW means forward, and on the old one, this part was sticking out. Let's put the pressure plate on. Well, I wasn't successful getting this back together. I'm going to try to realign the clutch disc. I think the tool wasn't in there straight, because when you put it in all the way, it creates too much suction here, so you can't pull it out. So I'm going to try and put like a notch there so it can let air through, and also like bevel the pilot bushing so that the input shaft goes in easier. So you can see I beveled it there a little bit, just a little bit, and then I ground this down with the burr so it shouldn't hold the air there. Yeah, it comes out a lot easier. Alright, everything's back to where we were before. Now let's try again to slide this together. Well, that was quite a struggle, but I got 3 of the bolts in, so it's gonna be easy the rest of the way. Probably should have got someone else to help me, but I got it done. Alright, I got stuff mostly cleaned up. I also swapped out the carb for this one I rebuilt because the other one was having some problems. Now let's get this cover on, and I also adjusted the clutch so there's about that much play before it starts engaging with the clutch dogs. On these magnetos, the wire coming off of them is a kill wire, so it just goes to ground. Do not put power to these, it will destroy the magneto. This temporary fuel tank is nice. These are like 15 bucks on Amazon. Actually, we have a little bit of work to do to this fuel tank. It had a little bit of rust in the bottom. Actually, not on the bottom. It was more on like the sides there. So I had some vinegar sitting in it like that for a couple weeks. Now let's put some nuts and bolts in it, shake it around with some gas. That vinegar didn't really do much. It's just a bunch of nuts and bolts. Well, I've seen it done before. I've never tried it, so let's see what happens. Got the back of the Alice Chalmers supported. Not hitting anything. Hopefully it doesn't fall down and drive over stuff. Don't put too much of this sealant on because it will clog up the carburetor. And also do not tighten these down very tight at all, because you will put a crack in the top there, and it will that'll basically ruin the top half of the carb. All right, that's been going for a couple minutes. See how it looks. I don't know, looks a little bit better. Hopefully it just knocks the rust off so it won't clog up the shutoff. Hard part is getting all the bolts and stuff out. I washed out the tank a few more times with fresh gas. Alright, let's put the air cleaner on. So we have to take the choke out. Alright, I got the intake on, those hose clamps tightened down, and I also put fuel line on. I'm just going to use rubber fuel line going to barbs. It's easier, and I can run an inline filter to catch everything that the sediment bowl doesn't get. Alright, this is just some old 5W20. We've had it sitting around for a while. It'll work fine in here. Purrs like a kitten. Now the real test is the clutch gonna work. No weird noises. Perfect. Took it for a quick test drive. I think it's ready to put the hood back on. Here it is. For some reason it looks like the gas tank doesn't match the hood, but oh well. One more hill that I want to go up. Should be pretty.
This hill is pretty steep.
Alright, one last thing on the Farmall. So I'm gonna call this Farmall done for now. It could use headlights and I could rebuild the generator, but I'm not even gonna bother rebuilding generator now since I don't have headlights. So maybe I'll make another video sometime if people are interested about rewiring an entire tractor, an entire antique tractor, and doing the headlights and rebuilding the generator. Here's the generator. I mean, you can see it needs a full rebuild kit, which is like $150, so. So comment if you'd want to see that. If there's enough interest in this video, I'll make another part. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.